Okay, now, nasty Nikki. Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the next episode of the Deep Dive with Toya Creates. Today is Hump Day Wednesday, May 13th, and we are going to get into Beyond the Gates. Oh my God. But first, if you like content like this, please like, comment, follow, share, subscribe, do all the things. I want to talk to you about these storylines, okay? And also, when I got to that in true Beyond the Gates fashion, maybe I'll get a sponsorship one day just like them. Anywho, let's get into it. I almost don't even know where to start because one of the storylines really shocked me today, and the other one made me so emotional. Anyways, let's start with the little stuff. So we saw Smitty and Tomas talking about Lynette. So Smitty had said yesterday that he was going to link up with Tomas to see what he could find out he knew about Lynette because Smitty's trying to get information, and he and Jacob found out yesterday that Leah was a victim of Lynette. And so Smitty and Tomas meet up at Uptown. Tomas is a little hesitant. He's just like, playing it cool as an attorney. He don't want to get chewed up by Bill again. He does not want the smoke from Bill. So, he's just like, oh, I meet up with you, Smitty. I'm not too sure how much I can share with you, but as soon as Smitty said it was about Lynette Wise, Tomas was like, I will be there. So there wasn't really much about it. They basically shared information with each other because Tomas did not know that Leah was a victim of Lynette's, and Smitty didn't know. What didn't he know? He didn't know that Lynette has disappeared. Okay, because Smitty was like, oh, okay, I'll share all of the information that I find because that was Tomas's his deal with Smitty. He was like, I will tell you what I can, and you, Smitty, tell me everything that you know. So Smitty said, fine. And he's just like, okay, well, just give me Lynette's contact information so I can talk to her. And Tomas was like, I wish I could, but she left the DMV, even though it sounded like she was ready to stay. Because remember, Tomas knows about this penthouse thing. I don't think Smitty knows that, and Tomas did not share that. But he was like, yeah, like putting out the vibes that it's kind of weird she disappeared. And so then they start to discuss like why they think Lynette was gone. Like, and Tomas asked Smitty if he thinks someone would have hurt Lynette or wanted to hurt her. And Smitty was like, maybe since she was out here scamming. And that was basically it for that scene. I ain't even gonna hold you. So I'm curious to see what these two come up with together. Now, Tomas got everybody helping. People call her Catlock. Shout out to my TikTok people. Catlock's helping. Nicole's out here. Well, no. Let's back up. For Tomas, Catlock's helping. Bill's helping. Keegan's helping. Now Smitty's in it. Jacob's in it indirectly. It's just everybody's in the things. Anyways, let's move on to the next storyline. So, I think this was supposed to be one of the major storylines today, but I was like, whatever. So remember yesterday, Chelsea lost her cool a little bit and slapped the phone out of a pushy reporter's hand. He was threatening to sue. Come to find out, this reporter was planted by sneaky, slimy Mike, who was on a revenge tour against Bill. And so now Kat and Chelsea and Danny happen to be at Danny's house. I don't know why Kat's there. Chelsea is there because she and Danny are supposed to be having like a daughter mom thing. And Kat just come out from the back with her phone showing Danny and Chelsea video of what happened yesterday because unfortunately Someone recorded the interaction at Orphe Jeans, and Chelsea is now going viral, which is not great because Chelsea and Kat just secured this deal with a Japanese buyer to have their Chelsea Cat brand in their stores. And so people are starting to comment. One of the comments was like, oh, Chelsea should have hit the dude over the head with one of the Chelsea Cat it's so sturdy. I was like, is this shade or is it an accolade? I couldn't tell. But Kat and Danny were like, okay, people are commenting. We need to get ahead of this and change the narrative. So Chelsea is in agreement, and Danny and Kat suggest that Chelsea do a live stream. Chelsea's like, yeah, but I just need to check in with the representation first. Smart girl. Because I probably wouldn't have thought of that either. But she's like, she's like, let me check in with Bill and Naomi first because I don't want to do or say anything that could harm the case for Madison. So she decides to give them a call. Now, Naomi and Bill are already at the office. They are just wrapping up after yesterday's ordeal. It's still the same day. Mike is gone, and they're just having like a celebratory drink because they have come up with a strategy for how to deal with Mike, and they feel like it's going to be successful. Mostly, I feel because Madison's track record and background is so squeaky clean, so it's going to be hard for Mike to pull his usual shenanigans or whatever. So Bill is just living in the moment. He is so thrilled to have his daughter, who they both share a mutual interest in uh, the legal world, because Naomi is an attorney, but she's just, oh my God, what is it? She is, oh my God. What she's not a public defender. She does like a lot of social work and she applies her legal skills there. Let's just say that. So Bill is just, his heart is so warm. He has his daughter there. This is all he's ever wanted. He wants Naomi to take over the firm when he goes on to glory. And he wants to work with his daughter. And he wishes Naomi would be more ruthless like him in terms of going after the bag more. He was like, you can make so much more money if you worked on different cases. But Naomi's like, she's not money hungry and she enjoys what she does and she likes helping the people. So whatever. They were already there, like I said. Then Haley comes in with her annoying ass. And she's just coming to get Bill to take him home. Is he a toddler? I don't understand. Maybe I don't love my husband enough. I don't. She comes over there. She's like, "No, I just can't. I'm gonna get you. It's time. Oh, it's the end of the day. Work is over. I'm not leaving him without my husband." So Bill's like, well, you go ahead on because I'm just having this drink with Naomi and I want to catch up. And she was like, I'm not leaving my husband. And so Bill basically begs Naomi to just stay because Naomi was like, all right, well, I'm going to get out your hair because, she can't stand her and she don't want to have this drink with this girl. But Bill basically begs Naomi to stay and she does. And the three of them have a decent time together. Okay. So let me see. Naomi was throwing some shots out while not the drinking kind of shots. Just like making little comments about Haley here and there. And you know, Haley was just taking it in stride and it's a decent meetup. Whatever. It wasn't really important, in my opinion. So then Chelsea is calling Bill, who was there with those two, like I said, and Chelsea was just like, "Hey, that situation that happened yesterday, it's not really handled. It actually went viral. Me and Kat, I've decided to do a live stream because at this point, Bill just thinks he's talking to just Chelsea. Uh, you know, and she was calling just to see what she can say, what she can't say, etc. And she was like, yeah, I just wanted to check with you, and then maybe you could call Naomi. And that's when Bill says, like, well, Naomi's here, so she can hear you. Puts it on speaker. You don't mention Haley's there. So then they keep going back and forth, and he hears Danny chiming in, and he was like, Danny, why are you there? And she's like, well, this is my daughter, and I'm allowed to. And Bill was like, I agree. So they keep talking, excuse me, they keep talking. And then Haley's in the background, like, sure, anything that Danny says. And then Kat and Danny on the other one, like, is that you? Be quiet. And then Kat chimes in, and Bill was like, is Kat there too? So he starts to get a little, he gets his boxers in a bunch. He was like, next time you call me, you might want to let me know who else is in the room. They're like, yeah, whatever. So then Bill and Naomi say it's a good idea to do the live stream. They tell her exactly what she can say. They tell her to, like, don't mention the lawsuit, um, and just make it more like you were protecting yourself and protecting your loved one. So, Danny and Kat go to set up the live. They're just going to do it there. Danny's trying to make suggestions like, hey, why don't you change your outfit? Why don't you do this? And Chelsea was like, I got this. So Chelsea gets on, and she does a fantastic job. You know, she really sticks to the plan. She does a good job of expressing why she did it and saying that, you know, she was really just defending herself and people that she loves, aka her fiance, and she was proud of herself for sticking up for herself. And that is received very well. Even the buyers from Japan chime in the comments under the live stream, and they're like, we stand a queen who protects herself, basically, or something like that. And so it's very good news. So Chelsea Cat is still gonna go on without a hitch with the Japanese buyer. Bill, Naomi, and Haley also watched the live stream, and so they are celebrating afterwards. They were like, ooh, Chelsea knocked that out of the park, and they cheers to her. And, you know, everything is going fine. Haley toasts to Bill being the father of the year and giving Chelsea wonderful advice while also working with Naomi, but he's even a better husband. Girl, whatever. Was just happy to have Naomi there. So Naomi's like, all right, I'm gonna get on out of here. I need to get back to Ashley. And Bill runs after her, and he thanks her in the hallway just for sticking around because he knows she hates Haley, and he just hopes that she enjoyed spending some time with her father. And he also goes and talks to Haley. He likes that Haley stayed and tried to make inroads with Naomi. And so, thank God, we're done with that. Everything was fine. So then, Nicole and Vanessa meet up at the country club, and Nicole starts talking about fantasy gate. Okay, she talks about, I was with Carlton and I had this fantasy about Ted, and Vanessa was like, yes, bitch, tell me more. She wanted all the tea. And you know, Vanessa was just like, do you think you're like have feelings for Ted? And Nicole's like, no, I don't want to be with him. And the thought is like repulsive to her. And Vanessa's like, well, I'm talking about lust. And we know Vanessa knows one thing about lust. So Vanessa was like, you know, you're clearly lusting after him. And she said, you know, why don't you scratch that itch and have another night with Ted just to get him out of your system? And Nicole was like, shocked, appalled, clutching pearls. But Vanessa's like, whatever. And then Vanessa wanted to know who was better, Carlton or Ted. I can't. But this is exactly the type of conversation I would be having with my friends. So Vanessa's a real one. And you know, she and Nicole are just talking through this, and Nicole's trying to put on this little front, in my opinion. So come back to them a little later because these stories are kind of intertwined. So then we also saw Eva having her pre-birthday celebration. Izaiah offered to cook yesterday when he was meeting up with Ted after the basketball game. And I thought he said his house, but of course, no, they were at Eva's house. So Leslie's there, Ted is there, Izaiah is there, and Eva's there. So Leslie walks in and she sees Izaiah because she did not know. And she was like, oh, I thought this was going to be a little intimate thing with just us three. Good job, Ted. I was on Ted yesterday because I was like, he always gives in to this woman, but it's smart inviting Izaiah because that threw her off of whatever she was gonna try. So then she's just like, y'all know Leslie. She's like, "Are we going out for dinner? Like, what are we doing?" And then Isaiah was like, "Well, I offered to cook," and she was like, "What?" Leslie wants something very extravagant, very hoity-toity, because new money. And Eva's like, me and Isaiah, we do things a little more low key. Okay. So Leslie is like, fine, whatever. But you know what this shows me? This just shows me that there will be a wedding someday. And she can't wait to catch the bouquet while looking at Teddy undressing him with her eyes. She's a freak. I'm sick of it. Anyways, so then, Leslie sits down and she's still talking trash. I can't believe that Isaiah can cook because she was like, he looks too good to be able to cook. And, she can still get a dinner reservation and she can get this cake and this and that. And they like, nah, whatever. So Leslie, Isaiah's finishing the food. Now, I ain't going to hold you. I kind of felt the same way Leslie did. Smith brings out some macaroni and cheese and it's even baked. I said, what? Because I don't believe macaroni and cheese is a meal. But that's just me. I feel like it's a side. So this man came out with macaroni and cheese, and Leslie was like, I know you lying. She was just like, while they start eating. And then Isaiah was like, he was like, well, it was going to be lobster mac and cheese, but I remembered that Ted has a seafood allergy. I bet that'll come up in another story soon, but I digress. And so I made this like, what is it? Gruyere. I don't know. I don't use that fancy cheese. He used some fancy cheeses or whatever. So Leslie was like, I don't think this is going to be nothing. She was tearing that macaroni and cheese up. Everyone was looking at her like, did you eat before? She was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you can really cook. So she was happy about that, but then she just couldn't help herself insulting Darlene at the table, who is Isaiah's mother. Because Leslie was like, I know your little stuck up mother didn't teach you like this. Eva was like, Mama, please stop disrespecting Isaiah's mother at the table. Isaiah ain't say nothing. Ted ain't say nothing. You know. Now, and Ted was like, well, why are you saying that about Darlene? I know she's not all of these things. She was like, well, you know what Darlene said about our daughter? She called her Satan's spawn. And Ted was like, oh, well, it was, presumptuous of her to think that Satan was a woman. And then they just go on. So then it's gift giving time. Leslie gives Eva this beautiful, expensive, it was like a teardrop necklace to match the earrings that she gave her for Christmas. And she liked that. So then Ted comes. Okay, this is where Ted excels for me. He bought her a more sentimental gift. It was a box full of things that he would have bought Eva over the years if he knew she existed. So it was like, I would have given you this little teddy bear when you were really young. I would have given you this perfume. And Leslie, nasty ass, and like, I remember when you used to spray my body with perfume. What's to hear that? Everyone's like, and then he gives her this personalized pillow, like, I don't know, best daughter or something. Daughter's first apartment, something like that. He said, this is what I would have given you when you moved into your first apartment. It was Eva was like, oh, Dad, it's so nice. Now, Isaiah ain't had nothing. Now, he gave her something a couple weeks ago, and that was supposed to be her gift. But it was fine. Isaiah got away clean. Leslie was like, now, look, now, you made that macaroni and cheese, so all right. And I know it could be on the menu for the wedding. So then Ted has the good sense to head on out. And Leslie's like, why are you leaving so early? The party's just starting. And Ted's just like, I want to give Eva and Isaiah some time alone. Leslie leaves too, surprisingly. Now, thankfully, it doesn't appear that they left together. They went their separate ways. Job, Ted. You're learning something. So then let's go back to the country club. So Leslie goes to the country club, and Vanessa is still seated where she and Nicole were. Nicole has gotten up to go to the bathroom or something. She's not there. So Leslie walks in. Now, remember, a couple of weeks ago, Leslie and Vanessa actually were like bonding a little bit, okay? Because I think Vanessa wants to use Leslie and Marcel as another double date with her and Joey, because Nicole ain't never, ever, ever doing it again. So whatever. Leslie makes herself comfortable and they start talking. You can see Vanessa's like looking for Nicole, and she was like, oh no, like I'm actually here with Nicole. And Leslie's like, oh, is your friend gonna be mad that you're bonding with her enemy? And Vanessa was like, well, I wouldn't say that. And they keep talking, and again, Vanessa's looking around. And then Leslie just talks about how they had a nice pre-birthday with um Ted and even Izaiah, and she is that. Wait, let's back up because Vanessa was like, "Oh, Marcel." Lisa's like, "Marcel is fine. I mean, whatever, but I know he's not my forever bae." She is convinced that her forever bae is Ted, as long as people stay out of the way. People, Shanice, Nicole. Anywho, speaking of Nicole, so then we see Nicole and Ted bump into each other in the hallway. He had he had gone on a run to clear his mind after dealing with Leslie. That man was stressed, but he did good at the party because you didn't see that. And Nicole was just looking at him like, She was like, "Oh, you must have run a marathon." And then what the fantasy began. Man, it was like on feet up against the wall, putting her leg around his leg. I was like, again. Nicole really thought that the fantasies were out of her system after she had a afternoon delight with Carlton a little earlier in the day. Or, yeah, a little earlier this day. But when she saw Teddy Weddy all hot and sweaty, Vanessa was 100% right. Okay. And Vanessa should know. She's the expert. Nicole says she didn't want to be the hospital hoe. Well, guess what? You about to be the hospital hoe. Anyways, because I know it's only a matter of time before they are knocking boots again. Anyways, so let's go to the last part of this because so then we go back to Eva and Izaiah. They are cleaning up, and Eva's just asking, "How did you learn to cook like that?" And he mentioned Joey because, for those who do not know, Joey is Isaiah's mentor, or he was back in the day. And Joey was the only person who gave Izaiah a chance because Izaiah used to be a little thug out in these streets. But Joey saw the good in him and he kind of took him in under his wing and he got him up out of it. He helped Izaiah have a fresh start, basically. And he really cares about Izaiah. Almost like a son, I would say, a little bit, because whatever. And Eva was like, "Oh, well, why didn't you say that? Like, too bad you couldn't tell them that Joey has this other side to him." And Izaiah was like, "Yeah, I didn't feel like I should bring it up because he doesn't want to lose Ted's approval of him because he feels like Leslie would be okay with the Joey dynamic, but he does not think Ted would be." And that's fine. I mean, he don't need to know that right now. So then, they're cleaning up and they're getting frisky. And he had some leftover icing because earlier he baked her a cupcake as well. And he was like, "Make a wish." And she made a wish. So then they're cleaning up and they're about to go to the do. And he was like, "Oh, wait, let me get the rest of this icing and bring it into the bedroom with us." And she was like, "Isaiah, you're so bad." And he was like, what did he say? He said, "I do crazy things when I'm in love." And she was like, and he was like, so he started apologizing because he was like, I'm sorry for not keeping it stress free for your birthday. I know that you wanted to take things slowly, and I'm just apologizing for this." So then Eva was like, "Well, did you really mean it?" And he was like, "Yes, but I don't want to stress you out." So he Just try to be very cognizant of her feelings. She was like, that is what I wished for when I blew out my candle. She was like, I am falling so deeply in love with you. So, yes, they kiss. So, Eva and Isaiah are in love. How long before Kat or somebody else messes this up? But yes, that is what happened today. I was so thrilled about Eva and Isaiah, and I was living for the Nicole and Ted fantasy. I want to see them together to see how they really connect. And I hope Eva and Isaiah don't have too much drama, but I know it's gonna come. I'm ready to wrap up all other storylines that have been going. I'm ready for Haley to be exposed. I'm ready for blood plasma to be revealed completely and totally. I want to know where Lynette is. What are you looking for? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.